We're back here on CBS Sports HQ, where last night on Monday Night Football, we saw two of the Cowboys' best players, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, benched for the first drive against the Raiders. A coach's decision, but they couldn't hold them back for too much longer, because the second they came on the field, it was lights out, and this duo is starting to find some legit rhythm. Dak Prescott also got back on the right side of things in a big way, dicing up Las Vegas's defense. So with the win, the Cowboys get a bump in the right direction when it comes to the NFL playoffs, now sitting at 4-5-1. Cowboys back in the top 10 in the NFC playoff standings, sitting at second in the NFC East and in the hunt. So what do we really learn about the Dallas Cowboys last night, and how legit are their NFL playoff chances? Douzable is here for the answer. Did the Cowboys show you enough last night for them to be a legit contender?
I think they are legit contenders to potentially make a run. When you look at the schedule, Jordan, the next three are gauntlets, right? They have the Philadelphia Eagles, then I believe they have the Kansas City Chiefs, then they travel to Detroit. If they were to just win one of those two, I think they have an outside chance to get in. If they win two of those three, they're getting into the playoffs. And you asked, did last night show me anything? Last night showed me the Cowboys are who we expected them to be, right? The Raiders have really struggled, and they took care of a wounded animal yesterday. That's exactly what they did. The offense has not been the issue. Now, the last 2 weeks before this game, the offense was only averaging about 17 points. So I was glad that they got back on track, right? The defense has always been the question. Before last night, they were giving up 30 points a game, Jordan. It's tough to win football games if you're Dak Prescott and you say, going into this game, I got to put up nearly a 40-burger for us to have a chance. Well, you saw Jerry Jones smiling in his box last night because of guys like Quinnen Williams. You bring him in, he has a sack and a half. He only had a sack coming into this game. Logan Wilson, they also got healthier. Malik Hooker came back from injury. Savon Revel. Now they're starting to get some of their players back and build that confidence. The good thing for them is, we talked about a gauntlet of 3 games. 2 of those are at home. Again, if they win 1, they got an outside chance. But if they win 2, I believe the Dallas Cowboys are getting in the playoffs.
I love the way you put that. Showed us who they were supposed to be this season. It only took about, 12 weeks. But let's go ahead.
Well, the offense has always been there. The defense has been the struggle.
Exactly. So let's, and as you mentioned, they bring in Quinnen Williams there. So let's go ahead and go through some of these games. And we'll start with the defending champs, that game at home. Sportsline actually giving the Cowboys a 42% chance to win this game. What do you give them?
I give them that, too, because when you look at the history, Dak rarely gets swept by the Eagles. He usually always splits with them, and they lost earlier this year versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I can see them winning that game versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember, it was earlier this year where the spitting accident happened with Jalen Carter. He ended up missing the entire game, and the Cowboys were right there with them at the end, and they just couldn't get over the top. Well, now that they got everybody back healthy, CD is back. George, Pickens is still playing at a high level. Dak has all this weaponry at his disposal. But the biggest thing is the O-line's finally healthy. Now, Terrence Steele, the right tackle, has been an issue, and that's a concern, especially when you're going up against a guy like Jalen Phillips, who will be rushing against the right tackle. But I love this Cowboys team to potentially win this game at home, because when you look at Dak Prescott, again, Jordan, he rarely loses or gets swept by the Philadelphia Eagles. And you see it, most touchdowns in a Monday Night Football game in Cowboys history. 4. He actually should have had 5. CeeDee Lamb dropped one at the end of the game. But Dak has played at an MVP level like this year. And you see it, 3+ passing touchdowns. He has the most in Cowboys history. I like them to potentially pull off this upset at home versus the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending champs.
Man, and how much momentum would that give them heading into the next game? As you mentioned, that game, the first of 2 back-to-back games. The next, of course, on Thanksgiving. And this game is actually not against the Lions, excuse me. Against the Chiefs, excuse me. So what chance do you give them in that game?
I mean, the way that the Chiefs have played, Jordan, what's their identity? I think that's the biggest question mark with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, everybody keeps waiting for that shooter drop in a good way with the Chiefs. Like, we know their pedigree. They always figure it out. What if they don't figure out? Because they have a tough schedule now. Again, they play the Colts the week before that, so Jonathan Taylor's going to give them that issue with the physical run game. Could they be a little beat up coming into this game? It's on a short week, too. They play on Thanksgiving versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys usually have a long history of winning at home on Thanksgiving, so they have a really good chance. I'm going to say, though, the Chiefs right the ship and get the win on that game there.
That's a good prediction, though,
Yeah.
but it would be.
It would not be a surprise if the Cowboys win it, though.
Yeah. All right. So then they're on the road taking on the Lions. Where can they have the edge in this one?
Take the over-under in this game. It's going to be a shootout, right? Because now we saw the Eagles' defense get after the Detroit Lions. And one thing about Dan Campbell, he's not going to let that go for 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks in a row. He's going to make sure this offense is back to being that explosive offense. The Detroit defense actually played well, even though they've had a ton of injuries in that secondary. Shout out to Calvin Shepard. He's done a masterful job getting guys that have not accustomed to playing at a high level on that defense. But this is going to be a shootout. Right now, the Detroit Lions are kind of like a wounded animal because if the playoffs started today, Jordan, they'd be out of it. This is a team a lot of people pick to win that division. So they're not going to have a lot of margin for error. I think the Detroit Lions take care of them at home.
Okay. So difficult may be a massive understatement, the next few games for them. But with all this being said, do the Cowboys make the playoffs?
I think that tie hurts them, right? I think in my predictor, we did it last week, I have them going 9-7-1. I don't know if that gets them in. I think you need to go 10-7. Now, again, it's going to come to tiebreakers, but is there going to be any tiebreakers? Because they tied a game. Like, they would need another team to tie. Like, maybe the Green Bay Packers comes to the tiebreakers and then who you beat and who you didn't beat. But other than that, like, when you look at the Chicago Bears, right, the Chicago Bears already beat them. So there can't be a tiebreaker unless the Bears have a tie. So I just think it's too little too late. I do have them finishing 9-7-1, and I do have them winning 4 in a row at the end to make it very interesting. Now, again, if they go 2-1 in the next 3 games, they're making the playoffs. I'm going to go out and say it. The Cowboys will make the playoffs if they win 2 out of the next 3 games. But if they only win 1, they got an outside chance of getting in. I think 9-7-1. I don't know if they get in. I don't think they get in at 9-7-1.
We do give them a 21% chance to make the playoffs if they do go that 2-1, 3-0 or 3-0, 51% chance for the Cowboys. So it all continues this Sunday, though. Quick turnaround for those Dallas Cowboys. They will see the Eagles. The CBS has a full slate of games for Week 12. We will, of course, bring you all the highlights and final scores right here on CBS Sports HQ.